The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of a Master's Journey Foundation. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. A Master's Journey Foundation's name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. Alrighty then. Well, good morning, everyone. Hello. Welcome back to a Master's Journey Foundation podcast. We have been on a little hiatus, but we're back. And today we have with us Valeria, Osvaldo, and our very own Kara Ahearn, or I should say Professor Kara Ahearn.
Almost doctor, right?
Almost doctor.
Almost,
So
yay.
excited.
Yes,
You're almost
yes.
there. Almost.
So close.
So close.
So close. So we're doing a little bit something different this time around. We're gonna do a little bit of a round table. We want to keep it more casual than the structured, just to make it a little bit different, shake things up. So Kara, today we asked you to be here because obviously we admire you so much. We got to know you as a professor. Some of us had the privilege of getting to know the other side of Kara when we went to Wassa in Colorado.
Good trip.
Yes, it was an amazing trip. And then now, we're all social workers.
Yep.
We're all colleagues now, but we're interested in knowing more about Kara.
Okay.
So let's start off by you.
Who is Kara essentially? We want to
Exactly.
know who she
Yeah.
is because I know we've had you as a professor. I've had you as my boss as well. and
Okay.
all of that. So, but I want to know, your personal side. I kind of know a little bit, but I'm pretty sure the audience will.
Okay. I mean, you just want me to
Just
hit the high
start
point,
with
start at the
Where's
beginning?
Where are you
Wherever
from?
you
How's
feel.
it going
Okay.
up?
Okay. All right. I am Kara, and I'm not sure where to look. I'll just sort of look around,
there
look
we
at
go.
all of you.
I don't do it.
It's
Just go for it. It's fine.
I am originally from Portland, Oregon. That's where I was born. I lived in the Pacific Northwest for a few years, but I did move to the Florida Panhandle, to Tallahassee, when I was 5 or 6 years old. So that is where I spent most of my life. So Tallahassee and the Florida Panhandle, while I think when some people think of Florida, they think sandy beaches, they think bright homes, really, Tallahassee has a lot of more Southern culture. It's really on the border of South Georgia, so it was much more of kind of a Southern Bible Belt sleepy town that, like I said, was really kind of bordered on Southern Georgia. So I do have a lot of Southern culture influence in me. I don't know if you guys ever noticed a little Southern accent, maybe
Here or there.
Here
we
and
heard
there.
it.
I have grown out of a lot of it, but every now and then it does kind of come out. I still feel very much like my roots. So I lived in the Florida Panhandle for many years. That's where I grew up. It's where I raised. My parents are still there. So I definitely have a love of everything Southern when it comes to literature and when it comes to food and college football. Huge Seminoles fan. That's where this year we kind of pretend it didn't happen. But every other year I am definitely a huge fan of college football and just everything that has to do with the southeast part of the country. Visited New Orleans a lot, just a lot of the, fun stuff. So I went to college. I went to elementary, middle, and high school in Tallahassee. And then my whole life, I grew up going to FSU, Florida State football games, and just lived close to campus just as a person living in the area. And my whole life I knew I wanted to go to FSU for college. So there was never really a question about where I wanted to go. Florida has a lot of main universities, but I always knew I wanted to be the Garnet and Gold. So I started college, and I had a few different majors that I tried, but eventually I did settle on social work. Probably it wasn't until my junior year that I really settled on social work. And I think it's for a lot of different reasons. One thing about my upbringing is I was raised by two social workers.
Oh, cool.
So yes, and I am very close with both my mother and my father. They had a huge influence on me in my life and my career, my choices in life, obviously. But I think outside of just knowing what they did professionally, I was raised with a very strong sense of service. I do believe. I didn't even know a whole lot about what they did every day between 8 and 5, but I knew every weekend we delivered meals to senior citizens. We did Meals on Wheels. I know my dad took us to plant trees for Habitat for Humanity. We volunteered at the food bank. I was just raised with, if you live in a community, you find ways to make it better.
Nice.
And so that's something that is still, I feel like has been instilled in me since I was very young. It's a value that I remember most from my family. We all have different values and things we remember growing up, and that's something that has just always stuck with me. So when it came time to pick a career, I tried just on it several different hats. It's so hard when you're 18, 19 to decide. I still, wonder like how it's crazy that we expect these young people to decide what they want to be. But I tried different majors, and then ultimately, I always knew I'd be in some type of helping profession. And I'm like, why am I fighting this? Let's just go and get a BSW. And I did that. And once I was settled, I really didn't love school. I really didn't. It's funny because I work in higher ed now. I did not love it. I kind of survived it. I really liked going to football games, and I liked hanging out with my friends, and I loved living on campus, and I really loved all that, but I didn't necessarily show up to all my classes on time and like really strive for that 4.0 like you guys did. That was not me as a student. But when I did start like my core classes in social work, that's when I really kind of started to thrive, and I started to make that transition from just someone that just showed up and phoned it in to someone who started to really soak everything in the classroom, and it really kind of shifted, me as a person, and started to make me more aware of what's happening in the world beyond me and beyond, my bubble, and all these social injustices that we know are there, but it's so easy when it's not in front of you. It can be easy to ignore it and to pretend like everything's really great. But I got into a place where I started just really looking outside of myself, outside of, like I said, my inner world, and really becoming kind of a little bit passionate and feeling like I wanted to be an advocate for some of these oppressed and marginalized populations. So I loved it. I graduated. And then I went to work. I did my internship at DCF, which we called it the Department of Children and Families in Florida. And I really enjoyed it. It was tough work, but I really did love it. So I worked there after my bachelor's. I got assigned, hiring papers probably a couple weeks before graduation even. So, and I started working there. I was a child abuse investigator. I had a caseload. Things were going really well. Then I just noticed that left and right people were getting promoted and I wasn't. And I was like, I'm just as smart. I work just as hard. Like, what's going on? Like, I want that pay increase. And then I just saw a theme that people that have an MSW were starting to get promotions. And I was like, maybe I need to think about that. I really was taking it 1 degree at a time. I did not go into my bachelor's thinking about a master's. And I certainly did not go into my master's thinking about a license. And even to the PhD level. It's just one step at a time. So when I say that to students, they're kind of looking at me like I'm crazy, but I really mean it. Like, just take it one thing at a time,
Yeah, I'm sure you got those looks from us when you
Oh,
would say we're like,
yes.
no,
we're going all the way. Oh, I think it's great. It's just, sometimes it's, it's about the journey. So
absolutely, sure. And sitting here listening to you, I remember hearing bits and pieces of your life when we were in school, and several of us, when it came to, what was that class that we had that was, it was a statistics class.
Oh,
yeah.
When we knew we had to take that class, at least me, it was like, oh gosh, statistics again. Why? But you made it so interesting. You made it, you made it so relatable the way you brought it. And I guess that hearing you say that you weren't into school and you were late to class and how you transitioned into this profession that was able to make such a boring, the subject of the class itself. You made it so, for me at least, it was fun. I mean, I passed it.
You did great.
Very easy to understand.
Yes. So that, and it's just weird or funny hearing you say that. I wasn't into school until later. It just we have a plan in our life of where we want to end up. Or so we think, until we hit little little curves.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And it's funny you say that you had several ideas, but this is what led you to it. And I can see hearing from what you say about your family and how involved in the community you were, and that again is reflecting in the classes that you're teaching now, where you have your students so involved in our communities. Which I think is huge.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's not just something I try to bring to the classroom, it's something I try to bring to my children. I'm a mother of 2 daughters, And it's such an important kind of value that I want to pass along to them, that you don't just sit and let life happen to you. You don't sit and see things that make you sad, or injustices and not speak up. And there's so many different ways to speak up, and there's so many different ways to advocate and make a difference. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a lot of money to do that. You don't have to do anything amazing or sacrifice, everything in your time. Sometimes it's just as simple as showing up and volunteering somewhere, going and helping sweeping the floors at the Humane Society. I mean, there's just so many different ways that you can serve and make a difference in on a larger scale, or just in one person's life. So it's something I really want my daughters to feel and to know and to believe in, and know that they can make a difference. And you don't have to get a bunch of recognition for it. Sometimes it's just a connection that you make with one person. It's something kind that you do for them. Maybe someone's struggling at school and they're having a hard time connecting with peers. You could be the one person to go up to them and introduce yourself, and to see if they ever want to talk, or just be there for them. So it's something that is, I know that it was instilled in me, and something that I want to kind of continue with my family.
That's great. And I think, well, obviously, the type of people, and I say we are because with social workers, I've come to see, especially where I work, there's the social work by title. That's the title of your job, and then there's those of us who have our MSWs, even our BSWs, and you can totally see a difference between how we handle, how we react, how we even talk to our kiddos or to our families. And I do the same. I try to instill that in my family, my children, my grandchildren, just kindness. And it doesn't cost to be kind. You don't need to spend anything. So I think it's great that we have that opportunity, to show it to our children. But going back to your education, so where'd you get your master's from?
I also did my master's at Florida State. They had an advanced standing weekend program, just like you guys did. So it fits so well with my life. And I did that. It took me about a year. It was a very similar setup to what you guys had.
So how'd you end up in Arizona?
Strange story.
It's a far.
I mean,
it
is. I know. Never in my life did I think about Arizona or the southwest part of the country. But like anything, it's a series of life events. And so after my master's, I worked and had a couple of different jobs here and there, but ultimately life, just different life events resulted in me being out one night and meeting a man that was very charming. And so, we ultimately ended up getting married. And he was a PhD student at Florida State at the time.
Oh, wow.
So he was finishing up. He is a creative writer, a poet, fiction writer. But unfortunately, poetry does not pay the bills. So I wish it did, but it does not. As you can see, the library, the sections get smaller and smaller in poetry and bigger in other areas. But he went on the job market after he finished his PhD. And typically in higher ed, you don't pick a place and then look for a job. You just look for a job and you go with who picks you. So we actually looked at several different places. He actually signed a contract with a small university in West Virginia. And I was on Zillow looking at homes in West Virginia, and I was crying, to be honest. Like, oh, this is not going to be, me. No diss to West Virginia. But it's a beautiful. I've heard it's beautiful. Never been.
I'm assuming just the fact that you growing up, being raised in Florida, that changed.
Sure. Also, I don't know anyone in the area. No family at all. My family my sister's in Portland in the Pacific Northwest. My brother is in Southern California with his family. My parents are in Florida. This would literally put me on the opposite end of everyone. And so, I was willing to do it, but I wasn't feeling crazy about it. And then he ended up getting an interview at Arizona Western College right here in Yuma. And I didn't know what it was or where it was. But then I looked on the map and I'm like, that's really close to San Diego area. That would put me super close to my brother. So I literally took him to the airport when he came for his interview. And I'm like, please get this job. Please. So, and it worked out. He came and did an interview and was able to spend time with my brother and his family. He's like, it's such an easy drive through the mountains. It's so easy. You would really like it here. So, when he got the offer, we did not hesitate to say, yeah, we'll move there. So we knew we were going somewhere, and it was the only offer he got that put us really close to somebody I was related to.
Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out really well. And I think we expected to be here, I think maybe like a year or two, and just reassess our life and see how things were. We had my daughter turned 2 like the week after, my oldest daughter turned 2 like the week after we moved here. So she was young, and we weren't even thinking about a second baby yet. So we're like, let's just see how things go. And I know a lot of people say it, but it's so true. Like, the community just grows on you, and before you know it, you're like, oh, it's been 3 or 4 years, we're still good. It's been 5 or 6 years now, we're still good.
What's 10?
Yeah,
what's 20?
Actually, February will be 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 2015, February 2015. So I'm almost at my 10-year. I feel like, am I a human now? Is it official?
I would say
I
so.
think it counts.
After your third year, after your
Okay.
5th year, maybe.
Oh.
I'd say 5 years is good.
Yeah.
So now I just feel like a official human, and I love the community. I love the branch campus that we work at.
Yeah.
I love the students. The opportunity to teach something you love so much to the next generation is just such a gift. It really is. And so I couldn't imagine being anywhere else now. You
And
know?
it's such a small community. Like, you feel like you know everyone. Like, it feels like family. Like, everyone's family.
Absolutely.
It was a great experience,
That's
for
how
sure.
you came down here, but how did you land with NAU?
Yeah. So, like, my husband was in higher ed. So the concept of higher ed I was very familiar with. So I knew it was a goal of mine, but I thought of it more of a long-term goal, like, you know, down the road. And I worked in behavioral health here. When I first moved here, I got a job in behavioral health, and it was really tough work. It was very rewarding though. And then I was working as an executive in healthcare, and I was traveling a lot. I had another child at the time, so my kids were young. I was gone. I was either in Parker or Casa Grande or Tucson, and I was missing so much. I felt at home. You know, at some point you kind of, you know, we're social workers, we're professionals, but we're humans and moms and grandmoms first, right? And so I was always feeling that push and pull between doing the career that I love, but also wanting to be present, you know, for my children, and not wanting to have to rush out of the Halloween parade to take a phone call. You know, someone's in crisis, I got to take this call, which kind of had turned into my life there, and I'm sure you guys can relate to those experiences. So, you know, it got to be pretty hard, and I think I just had a rough day at work, which, you know, happens. But it was one of those days where I'm like, maybe I'll get on Indeed today.
Indeed.
Yeah, right? It was. It was like, today was real crummy. Indeed.com, you know, like, you know how it gets. But I actually, I would look at NAU to see if there was a social work position open, and there wasn't. It's a small community. They only hire so many faculty, so it happened to be really worked out. It was a hard day. I was wanting to look, and then I saw that there was an opening specifically in social work, and I'm like, you know what, while I saw this being a little more down the road, this is an opportunity that I didn't want to give up. I wanted to at least throw my hat in the ring and see how it went. So, and I called up Dr. Whistler, and I'm like, I'm really interested in this, because I was a field instructor for NAU for a long time. So I had meetings with her. We had talked about students, and so I'm like, any tips, any advice? And so she kind of just mentored me a little bit through the process and made me feel really comfortable when I went in for my interview. So.
She does.
She
who
did that
has
for
she
me.
not?
Who
Who has
I
she not
know.
touched in somehow, some way, and
She's
and
always
shape or
in it.
form.
She's always in
And
people's lives.
she has always shown up for me in every way. So, and continues to. She is family, and she's, I think, our connection. It's beyond working together. We truly have. I feel like we have a really special connection. I think she would agree.
I'm sure
Yeah.
she talks so highly of you. You could tell whenever she does say your
It's
name,
special.
you know, her light.
It
her
feels
face,
special.
Yeah,
You know,
she's great.
you work with a lot of people, but it's rare that you work with
That
someone that you truly,
connection.
the way we show up for each other and have each other's back, and always, you know, sometimes when you hear something, oh, somebody said this or that, and like never would either one of us ever question that we would say anything other than, you know,
Good things.
really above board positive things about each other. So we've never allowed that division and that splitting. So having that professional support also definitely has led to me wanting to stay and to continue to teach and, you know,
and move forward.
And she's was a huge. She's probably one of the main reasons that I chose to go back for a PhD, because I had major imposter syndrome with it. I really did. I didn't see myself in that space at all.
Yeah.
I think that's how we felt when
Mhm.
I remember my interview with her when I graduated from IVC, thinking, oh, I'll think about going to NAU. I'll think about the social work program. Well, let's see what happens. Let me apply. And then I get a phone call or an invitation to meet her through Zoom. And before you know it, I applied and I got accepted and I went NAU. And I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? This woman just seemed to just pull you in
Yes.
with her eyes, the way she would stare through Zoom, and the way she
I
would
know that
lower her
look.
voice and
And
talk to
as
you.
if you knew her for
Forever.
the longest time.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I remember telling my husband, it's like she cast a spell on you. Because
What
before
just
I knew it,
happened?
I was already applying. Right as soon as I hung up, I was applying. I had letters that I needed to turn in, and then we're here. We're in our master's program, and there she is, teaching the capstone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm like this, and then she's talking about PhDs, and I'm like, there's no way. I would tell my husband, there's no way. That's it. I'm
Watch
done.
out.
I'm done. And then she says, no, you're PhD now. I'm like, PhD. She has a way. She has
Yeah.
a way of yes. I mean, she's scary.
Yeah, I know.
In a good way.
In a very good way, of course.
She has, what do you call it? She has a good way to like convince you to do stuff.
Mhm.
And I say that because my supervisor, Bridget, she's willing to take on more interns. She was only going to take one.
There you
She's
go.
like,
And she
Yeah.
one conversation.
She got Whistler.
One conversation. She's like, I think I'm gonna take more than one. I was like,
Yeah.
you talked to Whistler, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, this whole thing,
Yeah.
America. Here I go. I always want to call it America instead of a Master's Journey Foundation. This was her baby.
Mhm.
This was her idea. Her idea was a book.
Mhm.
You know, then she brought us in, and we're like, well, let's take it a little bit beyond a book.
Mhm.
You know, let's do this. And she has been such a pivotal part of our lives and our education, our private lives. She's just amazing, and I'm glad that she, you know, included us in that dream of hers, because I really enjoy. I know we haven't done. It feels like we haven't done much, but we actually
From-
have. I mean, we've
From scratch.
From-
Right.
yeah,
Scratch
from where we
doing-
started,
knowing nothing.
been to Wassa once, going twice. You know it. And then we're so different in our
Mhm.
personalities and our ages and
Oh yeah.
in our you know paths through life. We're so different, yet we're able to connect
Mhm.
so well and work together so well. And she has a lot to do with that, honestly.
She's always somehow like intertwined. with
Somehow,
all
some way,
our lives,
yes.
Somehow.
I
Mhm.
believe so.
Somehow.
Yes. Let's go back. So your PhD. How do you, like the most of us, if not all of, well, the most of us have children, we have families, we have full-time jobs, we go to school. What does Kara do for her self-care? How do you handle all that, and what do you do for self-care?
Yeah, love that you asked that, because it's something, my outlook and my views and the way that I've done self-care has evolved so much since I was a young social worker to now. And something I really try to encourage students to do is to be more intentional with self-care. I think, there was a time when, I would go for a run, which is great. I'm not saying that's not self-care, or go get a pedicure or go get my hair done, and that's not something that I consider to be self-care. It's an indulgence, and we need to do that from time to time. But I've been much more strategic about identifying the areas in my life where I know, looking on those different domains of who we are as human beings, and identifying what areas I'm strong in and what areas I know that I need to improve in. And so, like I said, I have a much bigger focus on being intentional with it. I do tend to get really caught up in work, caught up in school, and my family. Those are the areas that I'm really good at, right?
Yeah.
You can't be good at everything at any one given time. I have a couple weeks where I may put my dissertation down, but I'm really present for things that are going on with my daughters. I'm really present with my partner and making sure that we're having time together. I sometimes have noticed that I'll struggle with peer friendships, relationships. That's something that's easier for me to put on the back burner, and so I'm like, that's my area that I need to do better at. So I'll try to be more strategic and make sure that I'm covering all the areas in my life that make me feel whole and make me feel healthier as a human being and as a teacher and as a mother. But it is very hard. There's no easy way to do it all. And I think the most important thing that we can do as people is to go a little easy on ourselves at times and not put so much pressure, because you can also put pressure on yourself to do that self-care, and then it's pretty, kind of counterintuitive at that point.
Yeah, it's easy to put pressure on yourself, and you don't really realize it until you're, having these headaches every day, or you're just
Yeah.
drained at
Burnt
night,
out,
or you're,
yeah.
stomach issues because of the own pressure that we've been, especially when we're students, or when, like you said, we have so much on our plate that it is
Yes.
important. And I hadn't thought about it. I'm the type, oh, I'm getting my feet done, getting my nails done. That's my self-care moment.
That's not self-care.
That's what I'm saying.
That is
That's-
good
you're-
to do for you,
you're-
but that's not self-care.
Hearing you say that,
Yeah.
it's like, you're right. It's not.
Yes.
I think if I look back and I think my self-care is, my reboot is my grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to, lay on the floor with them and play Barbies for 2 hours in a row.
Mm-hmm.
To that is just, and lose everything else. Just let go of the phone, turn off
Yeah.
my other cell phone, and it's true. It's true. We think that these, going to the gym. Well, Pablo goes to the gym a lot because he needs to take care of his,
Yep.
and that's true.
But
It's
that-
something we need to take care
yeah,
of.
No, she is right, because I say, yes, going to the gym not every single day, but during 4 times a week
Mm-hmm.
helps me out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just after a long day of seeing people die, right? That
Oh.
the
Oh,
hospice
absolutely.
thing. It's gonna be draining, but I would say that during the weekend, the thing that really boosts me, brings me back the energy, is just my family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yes, I love the gym. Yes, I love going for runs. I don't run as much as you do.
Don't
but-
recommend.
Which we
But-
have to mention,
but
she
she's
just got back,
bad.
people. She just did a 13 mile?
Half marathon. I'm
And here
wiped
she
out,
is.
but we're
Yeah.
good. We're good.
But yeah,
Little
I feel like yes, it does help me out.
Yeah.
And while I consider it like part of my self care, I do kind of, but I would say like my main self care
Mhm.
is my family, because after the weekend, after I see all my
Mhm.
family members, my
Mhm.
nephews, I'm like, it was a really good weekend.
Mhm.
It was a really good weekend, and I go into work and I'm like, it's gonna be hard, but the weekend's gonna come, and then I'm gonna see my family, and
Mhm.
Another thing that I'm aware of too is connecting with nature is something that's really important for my self care.
Yeah.
Being outdoors, whether it doesn't have to be a beach, or something incredibly. It doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
waterfall, but just putting my feet on the grass, or going
Yeah.
for a walk outside and feeling the breeze. That's something that is really
Yeah.
important to me too. And so I'm not good at making myself do those things. So it's something that I do try to be intentional about. So I haven't connected with nature. I haven't put my feet on the grass in a
Yeah.
couple of days.
And it's,
so.
and it's important. I remember, it's true. Just a simple thing as going outside and just enjoying, nature. Remember one of our last classes in capstone where we were just burnt out. We had to turn in that portfolio thing, that video thing that we all struggled with because it was so
Mhm.
hard. I mean, it was easy but so hard to maneuver in our computer and
Yeah.
whatever. And we arrived at class and Dr. Whistler comes in and she saw our faces and she knew something was up. And we're like, you know
Mhm.
what? We're done. We're done. We're like so done with this. And she says, grab your things and go
let's
out.
go.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
go.
go.
outside.
And like grab whatever you
like,
need.
what?
She's like,
And we're like, well,
where are
yeah.
we going?
I
She's
know.
just like, walk.
She just walk.
Walk. I was like, where? She's like, walk.
And it's funny because
She's like, we need a goal.
yeah, no, and she said, it's like she
We
said,
don't want to, this isn't on the syllabus.
no, exactly.
We're freaking out.
What are we doing?
What core competencies this tiny
And
too?
she says, and she expected a lot of us to leave, like literally get in our cars and leave.
Yeah.
But no, like all of us, we just started following each other. We went to the grass. She said, form a circle, and we started doing
Dances.
dance moves. Lalo teaching her
Yes.
how to do the scissor,
The
whatever you call
floss.
the floss, scissor, floss, and then whatever that was. And Dr. Whistler was doing it, and then she was, giving us back rubs and telling us things like whispering, it's just
Yeah.
enjoy the moment.
Information.
And it's true, we were all in the grass, and at the end we were taking selfies. Went back to class, and it was just
Different
just being
environment.
able to go
Yeah.
out there and breathe.
Yes,
That made a
absolutely.
huge
It's-
difference in just that little moment. And it's so true. It's just
Mhm.
taking those small little moments to recap, to reboot,
Mhm.
and just refocus.
And not
Yeah.
wait till you're so burnt
Burnt
out
out.
to do
Yeah.
it. Let's not wait till we have. And I'm right there with you. I sometimes wait till I got the migraines.
Yes.
But incorporating it, I truly believe, like as human beings, like we're not intended to be indoors between 8 and 5, sitting at our desks.
Yeah.
It's just so unnatural. It's
Yes.
the body, the mind.
Mhm.
It's just really, it's just not. I feel how we were intended to live in
Yeah.
society. So
definitely.
making sure you're finding ways to get out and experience the
Yeah.
world around you and to feel the joy of the sunshine on your face and the breeze in your hair.
And yeah.
We got a lot of that right now.
So this
Yeah.
isn't one of the questions that's on here, but I'm just curious to know, throughout your career, what has been, I guess you could say, or your biggest, what do you feel has been your biggest accomplishment career-wise? I know the first thing we say as parents is our children,
Right.
but in your career, what has been one of your biggest, that you feel your biggest accomplishment?
There's several things that I feel really proud of. For different reasons at different stages in my career. I think, on a macro level, one of the things that I was really proud of was I was on a multidisciplinary team here in Yuma that really brought a lot of different disciplines together to create a system of care to improve community reentry for those that were incarcerated or on community supervision. And one of the reasons that I'm most proud of that is because I was the only social worker at the table. It was it was primary care providers, healthcare providers, psychiatric providers, probation providers, parole. So everyone was at the table, and we all had to put our preconceived notions, our bias, everything aside, and find a way to really bring the best out of each other. And I think sometimes we get we can be very siloed professionally, and that was just an initiative where we honestly really worked together. We all remained very client-centered and focusing on it's not about what's best for even my agency or me. This is about coming to the table and acknowledging what's going to be best for the people that we're trying to serve. And so we started from scratch, just going out to lunch and talking about our vision, to picking out carpet and paint for the space that we built, to having a ribbon cutting and having our first client come in there, and to see people that have experienced community reentry struggle. As you guys know, you got to get a job, but you got to get your ID first. You got to have the money to get your ID first. You got to go donate the blood, the plasma, but you got to have a bus pass to get there. And then you don't have money for the bus pass, and then you got to go see your probation officer, and you have to go do a drug test. And before you know it, it's like, I can't do this, right?
Yeah.
It was easier for me to be locked up, and that was just so. It was I worked in the criminal justice system for so long, and I was very passionate about it, but it was very easy to see the system breakdowns, the gaps, and to see people fall through the cracks, and I could see how it was not serving people the best way that it could, and the recidivism rates were just out of this world. And I think we know, there's a lot we don't know, there's a lot we do, but I think most people would agree that mass incarceration is a crisis, and it's not working. So I think I'm very comfortable making that statement. So to see us create something, while it had its imperfections like anything, to see clients come in and be able to get their blood work done, get their blood pressure checked, be able to store their medication for their diabetes, to be able to get into a substance abuse group, see a counselor, a case manager, and their probation officer all in one building, really felt like, wow, we've done something to improve the system. I've so many anecdotes about the micro level work that I did. I did it for a long time, and I loved it. I loved working with people one-on-one. I loved doing counseling. I loved doing case management, all the different roles that I had. And I think you guys are probably even starting to see, once you're a micro social worker for a while, you really, it's hard to ignore the system breakdowns and the system failures.
Yes.
And they become so clear. It's so frustrating. So I got to a point in my career where it's not that I didn't want to do micro social work. I wanted to be part of large scale solutions, and I really wanted to have an influence on that more macro level scale. So it was truly something I was proud of. I felt like it's making a difference. It is not making a difference in one person. It's making a difference in a population. So that's something that I still care very deeply about that clinic, and I love to see that it's still going strong. And like I said, while it still has its imperfections, there is nothing that's perfect. I know that it's still up and running and serving people, and so that's something that I'm really proud of. And then when it comes to higher ed, anytime we see students get that MSW, we're proud to see walk across the stage for that BSW. That is such a huge accomplishment.
For sure.
And then to see the MSW, and then to see you guys working out there and doing cool things like this.
I'll never forget when we walked off the stage off our bachelor's program and master's. One of the first people that was there was Kara. And
I have that job. I'm in the corner over here.
And she's right there. And she walks up, she goes, "You fucking
Okay.
did it!" I was like, oh my gosh, that just totally, it was just the cherry on top.
Yes.
Because it was hard. It was hard, at least for me, at the age that I did it, and the work that had to be done, coming from California, it was just different, not knowing the majority, then feeling that these are all kids, I have to show up because I'm not going to be that old woman who doesn't know what the heck she's doing, I have to show up. But the encouragement that I would receive from you, from Dr. Whistler, and then at the end, just seeing you guys there and feeling and just saying it, you're fucking, yeah, I did fucking do this. I did do this. It was great for both ambassadors and masters.
We get caught up in the emotions of, sometimes, and the pomp and circumstance and the cards and the balloons, and we forget. I busted my ass for 3 years to do this.
Yes.
Soak it in.
It was amazing. It was an amazing moment. And then again, for our master's program, it was so beautiful to see that at the end of the ceremony, it was a long ceremony because we had all those people graduating. Oh my gosh! But at the end, at the very end, after the fireworks and everything, you see all the graduates going to their families and leaving, yet our cohort from ASU just went together in the middle. We went to each other first before we went to our families, and we were just dancing with our professors and with Brett, and we were just dancing. And that, to me, I remember, I thought to myself, wow, this is not just a cohort. This is just not, we were like, we were bonded. To me, I felt like we were bonded, and you were there, even though you weren't our student. You were there. Ruth was there. That to me, it was an amazing moment, something I'll never forget, and I'm so thankful for. And I think that's one of my biggest accomplishments, getting through it. And forming such a bond with with our cohort and our friends, our now colleagues. It was amazing. It was amazing. So, PhD's almost out the door?
Yes, if everything goes well, and I feel like I'm very positioned well right now to graduate this in May.
In May.
Yeah.
In May? Almost there.
Yeah, I'm working on the last few things with my dissertation now, so I think there's a good chance you'll see me in a puffy hat.
In a puffy hat, of course. Well, I know we will see you in a puffy hat, in that nice big robe that Dr. Whistler's been saving for you.
She's got it ready. She's got it on the hang. She pulls it out to motivate me when I'm like, I hate this. I want to quit.
You want to try it on?
She's like, she does. That's one of her tricks. It works every time.
That's a good motivation, though.
Yeah,
like
it's a reminder.
You're seeing yourself wearing it.
So what comes after? What does Kara see for herself in 5 years after her PhD?
Oh goodness, that's a great question. As I said at the beginning, I do take things one thing at a time, so I don't always have a huge long-term plan. But I absolutely love what I'm doing now, so I don't necessarily see myself changing jobs right away. But this will put me in the position to potentially go on the job market and see if there's other universities, if there's maybe a tenure track somewhere. That's certainly a possibility.
Hopefully it'll be a tenure track here.
Yes. I also, I have thought quite a bit about it, and I think once I'm done with school, I do have a couple of small goals. But one of the bigger goals that I have is I'd like to write a book.
Oh, here we go with the book.
Yeah. Yes, I would like to write
It's
a book.
a trend, I guess.
Nice.
Well, I've been writing a lot, and don't get me wrong, I'm loving my research and I love my dissertation, but it's led to me, and I'm doing more qualitative work, really learning about different populations that I haven't necessarily shared space with in the past. So I've learned so much, and through the people that I've interviewed and through this process, these are stories that need to be told, and I'd love to be able to tell them in a way that's not in a dissertation that a lot of people won't find as compelling and interesting. I'd love to tell it in a way that I think, centers their voice and, is more of something that's a little more digestible for readers.
So what is your dissertation?
So I'm really kind of focused on transfer rates for first-generation Latinx students from community college to the university.
Oh, wow. Well.
Yes. And so I have interviewed a lot of students and a lot of faculty, and I think one of the populations that's really come to the surface is migrant farm workers, and, creating a voice for their experiences and also highlighting their sacrifices, because as you guys know, the reason that a lot of these students are able to sit in these classrooms and have their education is because of the intense sacrifices that have been made by their parents and their grandparents. And I think I've just heard the stories, and they're so beautiful. And I think also in our current social and political climate, there's the rhetoric that comes from the border isn't always positive.
Yeah.
And so, I think a beautiful way to combat that is to just highlight the beautiful things that come from our unique,
Absolutely.
beautiful geographical region.
Absolutely.
And highlighting those voices and those stories to me is compelling to anyone. It has to be. So
Of course,
yeah.
and we hear so many stories, and we heard so many stories, and going through school, and we we learn to appreciate them because we're part of that community, and definitely, like you said, in the political climate that we are in now, definitely a book like that would really be a cool idea to gift a
To put
certain
it out
person
there.
in the
Yeah,
White
for
House.
sure.
We can
Read
send
this.
some signed copies.
Yes, read this, please.
To a book signing in the
Yeah.
Oval Office.
Please. Yes, we'll make it audible. That way you
Yeah.
don't have to read if you don't want to. Just listen. Just listen.
Yes.
Just listen.
But that's great. That's a great idea. That would be a book. I know. I'd buy it for sure.
All right,
I'll be there
I
for the
got
book
it.
signing. I'll be there for the
Alright.
book signing.
You'll
Yeah.
be I'll consult with you too. No, but you guys know Professor Quinteros too. She's another part-time Gabrielle Quinteros. She's an adjunct faculty as well, and she has participated in a lot of my research in the past throughout my PhD program. And she is a daughter of 2 migrant farm workers that both passed away during COVID. So I have highlighted their story in a lot of my work, and it really opened my eyes to how many other stories there are out there that are just they're invisible, they're unheard, and no one's that there's no platform for those stories to be told. Yet we're hearing all these stories about the negativity, like I said, and the rhetoric, and the social and political climate is just. I think it requires that we take some action to a degree. And sometimes, there's a lot of different ways to do that.
Yep.
And I think highlighting voices is a way that I'd like to.
That's a great
About
idea.
that.
It's a beautiful idea.
Yeah, can't wait.
I know.
All right.
I know.
Give me some time. All right. Let's-
Let her do her self-care in between,
Let her
and
touch some
Yeah.
grass
get
first.
to breathe a little bit.
I
like
want to
Dr.
touch
Ripley.
some grass. I really want to travel abroad. That's probably my first. I really want to go. We're thinking about Scotland and Wales as in the summer, maybe to just be with the
Beautiful.
family and
And then celebrate your.
celebrate.
Yeah.
Of course.
Very, very.
I really want to go. I am obsessed with puffins, the birds.
Oh,
Puffins, yes, they're adorable. And you can look them up. They're
Pichones, no.
No, not pigeons.
no, we got plenty of those here. But they're birds, and they have a puffin season, which is I think like May to August around then. And there's an island near Scotland. I think puffin season happens in like Ireland, Iceland, Scotland, those areas. But I really want to go during puffin season because they're beautiful. And there's thousands of them like on an island, and you can kind of really get up close and see them. So it's a dream of mine.
No, go.
Yes. I saw a puffin at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and I almost cried. So that tells you that this is the experience I need to have.
I can see Kara
Right.
in front of the puffins, like the lady from Home Alone, the park lady with the pigeons. I can just see Kara with the
I better
puffins.
see that.
Oh my gosh,
picture.
please manifest that. Yes. I want to be covered head to toe in the adorable puffins. Yes.
How
Love
cute.
that.
Well, Kara, I think that's all we have. Those are the
Yes.
questions.
Oh,
You
this
answered all
was
the
super
questions.
casual.
Yes,
Fun.
very casual. We just, these
Catch
are
it
the
up.
conversations.
Catch it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being such a huge part in our education, in our lives. We totally appreciate you being here on a Saturday. We took a little bit of time from your day. I know you're feeling a little bit
I'm a little
stiff.
stiff.
But now you can go relax and enjoy the rest of your day with your family. But again, thank you so much.
Oh,
And I
thank
hope
you.
we continue to have people log in and look at our podcast. We'll be back with some
And
more.
Check it
hopefully,
out.
Yeah.
We get more faster than we have.
Yes.
So thank you everybody for joining us, and peace out.